2010, my next guest was staring down the barrel of financial oblivion, personal debt mounting, no clear way out. Today he's a best-selling author, speaker, podcaster, has over 40 years in financial services, and he is the creator of the Work Optional Lifestyle Financial Planning Tool. Doug is one of the most authentic voices in the UK and the personal finance space. His book Goals Do Come True is the story of his journey from the edge of bankruptcy to selling his business for over 7 figures in under 10 years. Doug believes that financial planning isn't about numbers, it's about the life behind them. And if you've been through business insolvency, this conversation will show you there's a very powerful next chapter. Please welcome to the show, Doug Bennett.
Doug, thank you for making the trip up to join us on the Director First podcast. I've been very excited about having a natter with you and seeing where this conversation goes. So once again, thanks for coming up on a Friday morning.
No problem at all. On the day before my birthday as well. So
21 tomorrow.
And plus an
excessive
amount of VAT. Excessive amount.
Listen, first question. If we was to go back to I think 2010, you were about £120,000 in debt. Between that point and 2019, you built a 7-figure business. So if you can take us back to 2010, what was going on for you? What was the lowest point? And then how did you go from that to selling the business in 2019?
Well, I mean, I'm a financial advisor, right? Being 120 grand in debt is not a great place to be. But because I'm a reasonably good egg, my business was good. I mean, we got affected by the global financial crisis, which is where the problem lay. I mean, probably the low point was before then, 2006, 2007, because I'd set my business up in 2006, and my mum passed away in November, and then my dad passed away 12 weeks later in 2007. My mum was 63, and I'm 63 tomorrow, so it's like, oof, it's a little bit of a thing. But with my inheritance, I bought a big house. And, I was doing really good business in 2007, and then 2008 hit. And it was just a little bit of the compounding effect, robbing Peter to pay Paul. So that's how the debt gradually increased. I overstretched myself, pushed myself for the mortgage because things were, really going well. So that's a big lesson. It's like, don't overstretch yourself.
Back then, they were giving mortgages out like... They were all self-certified, weren't
Self-certified, they weren't checking quite so much. If you had a big enough deposit, you were good to go. So there's a lot of people like got caught out by that. So, it accumulated. I was on the edge of bankruptcy, as close as you can be. I had an IVA. That wasn't a proud moment. My big thing was I always wanted my mum to be proud of me, and that wasn't a proud moment. And I could have given up my business, but then she would have been even more pissed off, even though she wasn't there. So I discovered an old goals book that I'd started writing in 2004. And I know it was 2004 because one of the goals in the book was I have completed the London Marathon, which I did in 2005. So that was testimony to what you can achieve, because I'd run 200 yards and throw up, and then 18 months later I'd completed the London Marathon. So this little book was like, well, I checked it, and 10 out of 11 of the goals that I'd written down in 2004, even though I hadn't kept up the goal setting thing, I'd completed them. So I thought, something in this goal setting malarkey. So I started rewriting my goals, and the first goal I always use, and I talk about it in my book, is the 100K club. Everybody wants to do 10K months, and 100K is about 10K a month. So I started with, I'm aiming for 10K. 100K, and that's 100K turnover, 100K gross profit, net profit in your bank. So that was where the 100K thing come. And you gradually increase your business, because as each of those measures come in, you have to earn more to net 100K, for example. So I used that for a number of years. 2014, I looked at my goals and I changed it. I'd increased it, I think, in that time to 200. I just doubled it. Once you hit 100K, and you hit a goal and you're in it, and you have to cut your teeth on easier ones, but once you get going on it, you just increase it. So I increased it to 200, and then I increased it to 250. And my wife at the time did my books for me, and she presented my accounts, and all of my little bits and pieces all added up, and it came to £250,268 in 2018. It's like,
Is that cash, net profit?
that was all my little bits and pieces of income. So I even had utility warehouse in there, maybe 11 quid, and it was like, oh, these were fees, and this was this, and this was it. So all the different bits and pieces actually come in at the 250, which was my goal from 2014. Flip, right, okay, or a stronger word. So I just doubled it. I just I'll go for 500,000 then. And then in 2019, a firm rang me, and they said, "Oh, we're interested in buying a part of your business." So in 2019, they paid me 510 grand, and then 2020 they paid me another 575 grand. Now, was I bothered about the fact that I didn't earn the money? It wasn't an income. It wasn't, building the business up to 500,000. No, not really, because they just give it to me. But that's the thing about the goals. Because I'd set that goal of £500,000, this conversation came about, and they said a couple of things. And ordinarily I'd flick these firms off because everybody wants to buy a financial services firm, they're consolidators. So they approach you all of the time on this sort of thing. But something they said in the conversation sort of triggered no, I can hit the £500,000. So you've got to have the goals. Otherwise your brain can't look out for the information that you need to be able to hit them.
And that's something called the RAS, isn't it? Reticular
Activating system. Yeah. And I mean, the thing is, the way your brain works is it's protecting you all of the time. In this room here, for example, there's a little sub-hum air conditioning thing, right? Now you can hear it because I've mentioned it to you, but your brain had cut it out, okay? And it does that all the time just to protect you, because if you had to analyze all of the little bits and pieces of data that's coming your way, right? So it cuts it out. That's not important, that's not important, that's not important. But if you fed your subconscious on what it is that you want to try and achieve, when a piece of data comes past you and it goes, well, stop, hold on, that piece of information there is important to the goal that you've told me. So it works. There's a science to it.
So we go back to 2010. You're on the verge of bankruptcy. You're in an IVA.
Yeah.
And you find the goal book and you start to write some goals. That can't be all the story though, because one of the things that I've sort of said to people, and my own experience with goals is like literally when I look back at my old goal stuff, I've hit most of them. Do you know what I mean? Because I was mad into goals as a youngster. I would write them books and books and books after listening to Tony Robbins and
Brian Tracy, Jim Rohn.
I loved all
classics.
that personal development.
Yeah.
But I think what sometimes gets skirted over is the next part of when you put that goal in there. Okay, you put it out to the universe. You're focusing on the goal. It's like getting in the trenches and actually. So tell us about that, because you're 120 grand in debt. You're writing goals. You can't pay your bills at the end of that month. So there's got to be some type of internal warfare going on there.
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, you're definitely up against it. I mean, an IVA gives you the opportunity to pay pennies in the pound on the debt, but they analyze your expenditure and make sure that you're your life is minimal, because they want every extra pound that you're making to go towards paying the debt. I mean, so my IVA started at 33p in the pound. That was the target over the next 5 years. But then they reviewed it. And so you've got no access to finance, you've got no overdraft facility, you've got nothing. So you really have to double down. You look at your expenses. I mean, at that time, we'd bought a nice house. We had a reasonable sized drive, so we were renting the drive out to people going on holiday. We were renting extra rooms out because it's near Gatwick, so we had pilots that were learning to work at EasyJet, so we had a house full of pilots. It's like we did have one situation where we had a young girl. She was absolutely nuts. She had a motorbike, so that made her sort of get past the initial interview basis. But she was absolutely crazy. My wife had all these handsome young pilots renting, and then there was this one stage where we had, I won't say what her name is, but she was nuts, absolutely nuts. Anyway, but this is the sort of stuff that you have to do. You just have to do it to make ends meet. You have to do what you have to do. So we rented the drive out, the car park, and rented rooms out, and I just went to the good old basics: email, picking up the phone, just ringing people, having a chat. I did notice, though, in 2008, 2009, as it was developing, and I was a bit of a miserable bastard, I wasn't really getting that many recommendations. So you've also got to have a positive mental attitude and a positive mindset. And
imagine in your job, yeah.
So it's fake it till you make it. So they say. So so that I have a really, really seriously good mindset. And something I learned years and years and years ago. It's an equation I live by. It's E plus R equals O. Events happen.
Jack Canfield,
yeah. Chicken soup for the soul.
Yeah.
So I heard that. I don't know.
What was it called? The Success Principles out of that book.
It could be that book. It could be that
Excellent.
book.
I remember. Please, let's get into that. Yeah.
Well, I actually saw Jack Canfield speak, so I got it from the horse's mouth rather than from out of a book. But it's E plus R equals O. E is the event. Now, events happen. You can have an influence on an event ahead of the game, but it happens. Then you have your reaction. E plus R is your reaction. That is actually the only thing that you can control, is your reaction to an event. And you can choose your reaction. If you take your time on things and think about them, you can choose how you react. If you have a positive reaction to an event, you can more than likely have a positive outcome, which is E plus R equals O. Event plus reaction equals outcome. Now, sometimes we're in a relationship with somebody, or somebody close to us only ever has a negative reaction to things, and that's a downward spiral, and people are like that. Everything is doom and gloom. That makes it really, really difficult, but that is a spiral downward. So I always try and look for the positive in an event, and there's always you're earning or you're learning, really. If you fail to make a sale, you've learned how not to do it again in the first, So it's like, so I'm pretty positive about stuff. It's like I came off my motorbike in Germany at 95 miles an hour in 2023. Broke loads of bones. I was in Germany. Turns out I didn't have any insurance, any holiday insurance, because my bike was a 1250 and they only insured you up to 125. And I'm in a German hospital eating shit food. And they say, right, well, we've racked up €5,000 medical bill and we want to operate on your foot on Friday. So how are you going to pay it? I'll ring the insurance company. And they said, no, you're not covered because the bike's too big. So that was a bit tough. But I had a global health insurance card, so I'd recommend everybody gets one of those, because that turned my €5,000 bill that was €5,000 bill that was going to turn into 90 euros. I paid €10 per day in the hospital. So have that, right? So that was in June. So I broke my foot in 3 places, smashed my ribs, 6 or 7 ribs, smashed my shoulder blade. I was doing 95, but you're allowed to do 95 on a German autobahn because there's no speed limit.
I'm not here to judge.
No, but people would be, oh, you deserve it. You were going too fast.
And I mean, how on earth did you get a positive spin on this then? Because you're in a German hospital in a lot of pain with a 5,000 bill being stuck up you potentially.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that R in this equation.
Well, it's like I'm there.
You're alive.
I'm alive. That was the big one. I mean, that was the thing. When I stopped bouncing down the autobahn and I looked up at the sky, I went, flip me, Bennett, you're unlucky. And it's like, but you're alive. And so very often it's like these things happen to you. And they're not dead ends, they're speed bumps, So it was and I'm in the hospital and I'm having fun with the nurses because they're bringing me this shit food. And I say, like, any chance of some bratwurst and chips? Because I used to live in Germany when I was growing up. No. And, a little bit of fun and banter with them using Google Translate and my pidgin German. And one of the nurses brought me in a pizza from outside so that, and then one of the guys next door, I'm chatting to him, his wife bought me in some fruit and stuff like that. And it's like, well, I'm sitting there broken, but it's like I'm alive.
I want to move this on to something I've heard you talk about that really did get my attention, and it's that work optional lifestyle. I've never heard that term before. What does it actually mean for those watching and listening?
Okay, so if we go back to my mum and dad passing away, all right, I'm the oldest of 4, a financial advisor. So I got to deal with all the probate and stuff. My mum had cancer. My dad was working and he was 64. And he said, it's all going to be great when we get to retirement. And neither of them got to retirement. He was working, he was a police officer and he worked for the Environment Agency at the weekends. And, police officer, not at that point, he was civilian police, but anyway. And he promised my mum it was going to be great when they got to retirement, and they never got to retirement. So, but looking at all of their finances, I was able to see that actually he probably had enough money, that he probably could have eased back and spent some time with my mum before she passed away. And I'm a financial advisor, right? And it's like, there's something not right there. Something not right. So I came across this thing called lifestyle financial planning, where what I do now is I map out people's finances from now to age 100, right? So we look at their income, look at their outgoings, look at their everything, and we map it out. And there's a time where you could stop working, right? And most people call it retirement. There's a time when you could retire. You've created enough assets, right? Or you've got streams of income coming in and you've got enough capital, and there's stages of retirement. And people think, when I retire, if I'm only 40K, I need to have 40K a year for the rest of my life. Well, there's later stages in your life where you're not going to need as much money as you just because you can't go on holiday, can't get up the stairs on the plane, let alone, So it's like mapping it out, the different stages of your life. But I deal with business owners and clever people and, sort of upper level professionals. And it's like, they don't want to stop working. They don't want to stop working because their brain is like geared for doing something. And, people that stop dead, right? They're dead within 2 years, right?
When you went, I'm just like, that is probably one of the best physical representations of how my head works. Like a strobe light some days.
Yeah.
Let me ask you about stages of retirement.
Mm.
You know, what do you mean by that?
Well, if I may, I'll just go back to that little work optional bit, right?
Go for it.
So it's not the day of retirement, it's the day that work becomes optional, right? Now, if you're in a job and you're not enjoying it quite so much, but you know you can call it a day tomorrow, work's now optional, right? Takes all the stress out of your life. Now you can choose what you want to do. If you want to drop down to 2 days a week, if you want to become a consultant or something like that, just so that you can keep your mind going and mind active, right? That's where the work optional comes in. But what we have is we have that situation where I'll call it retirement, right? You retire, let's say that's 65, and you have this period where you're doing the holidays and everything, and that will carry on until you're about 75 or 80, depending on how much energy you have. And then from 75, 80 onwards, your needs drop quite dramatically because, you might not be driving, you might not have 2 cars, you might, you're not going on long haul holidays, you're not,
It's quite sad to think about that. Like, I've never ever thought about that.
Sorry to depress you, mate.
Yeah.
But it's coming.
I hope this is going to get better, Doug.
I'll do my best.
Yeah.
I'll do my best.
But it is, isn't it? It's like, fucking hell, 65. I might have 15 years doing what I want.
Yeah. So that's why my planning is quite important, because there's essentially 3 types of people in the world. There's people that haven't got enough money. There's people that have got enough money, but they don't know that they've got enough money. And there's people that have got too much money. I'm happy to help the people with too much money, but the important ones are the ones in the middle that actually haven't got their long-term plan set out. So they don't know that they might actually be closer. Most of the people I talk to, they're thinking, I've got to work till I'm 67 or 70. But when we work the plan out and we take the different stages into being, it's actually, no, you can call it a day at 62, or actually you should be gone already.
Or that work optional, that like you're doing all right. You could do 2 days a week, you could do 3 days a week,
I've got one guy, he made himself a pain in the arse at work because we'd had the conversation. They made him redundant, and now he's set up a little business doing personal training. But he made himself a pain in the arse at work so he could get his redundancy, because he knew he had enough money anyway, and it was just a little Brucey bonus. Now he's setting up a little personal training business.
And not presumably, I mean, I'd love to get. Have you got some real life examples for us? Like how much did they have in the back? How much did they have invested? What did that give them, sort of thing? Is there any way we could sort of get some tangible stories?
Well, I can tell you that having sold my business for £1 million, £1 million isn't enough, right?
Yeah.
Certainly if you're throwing a divorce, which is just relatively recent. Last year I got divorced. So it is very individual. So I've got one example, and this is a modest position, right? So I had a cybersecurity manager, got made redundant, 59, took a job with Ocado, right, delivering, because there were no other jobs. At 59, there were no cybersecurity jobs available, because they know, your CV's fed through bloody AI, and they know that, you said when you went to university, we know how old you are. So it was like, no, she's not getting any interviews or anything. So she took a job with Ocado as a delivery driver, and then she didn't like doing that. So they went, right, okay, well, you can be a picker. They create the baskets and stuff like that. And so she started doing that. Well, she was on probation. She failed probation because obviously at 59 years of age, she's picking up the piece of fruit, checking it's really, really nice before she puts in the basket. And everybody else is just going like this. So it's like, whoosh. So she failed probation, and it's like, well, I went through her plan for her, and it's like, right, you've got this pension from this firm that you worked with years and years ago. You got a lump sum from that. Okay, you've been saving. It's modest. I mean, she had probably 150k, right, in savings, but she had the pension, and her state pension is going to come in 6 or 7 years' time. So we factor that in. I said, you don't need to work. You can stop now at 60. I had another, another old work colleague from years and years and years ago, and she was in a similar situation. And then we've got the PT guy. You know, he's I think is he 58? Might be 59. And he's done all the hard work. And they've done all the hard work. They just don't realise how well they've done for themselves. And that's going back to, they've got enough money, but they don't know that they've got enough money. And he keeps coming back to me and saying, look, are you sure about this? Are you sure about this? So we rerun the plan, and I said, right, okay, we're going to give the kids 50 grand towards a deposit on the house, right? And you've got 2 kids, and we're going to do one in 2 years' time and one in 4 years' time. And we put that in, and we're adding proper holidays. And, because you've put your holidays and you've told me what your holidays are. Well, we'll put proper holidays in when, just as a treat, you turn left when you get on the plane, And it's like, and we fact all of that in, and how much have you got left? And then it's like, also, you should be giving money away now to your kids while you can see the difference that it makes to them while you're alive. Because if you die at 90 and you've got all this money in the bank and they get it and they're 70, they actually need it now. So it's all of that sort of stuff. It opens people's minds. Yeah. Now, it's not for everybody, obviously, because back to the people that haven't got enough money, and we probably should have dealt with them years and years and years ago. Well, I have got a plan for that, because I'm working on a course at the moment, which is it's a goals setting course. Goals that come true is the name of that course, and it's financial clarity, and it's just ironing out all of your finances. So that will serve for people coming up to this period to get themselves set up.
I mean, that is equally, or if not more important, to have a better future. You've got to take care of business in the present and make whatever you've got last. So can we go into that a little bit, Doug?
Yeah, I mean, a job as a financial advisor, right? You're paid twice every month, right? You're paid for the person you are now and the person that you're going to become, right? So you get 2 paychecks. My job as a financial advisor is stopping you spending both paychecks now.
Just run that 2 paycheck concept by me.
Okay, so there's a lifestyle that you have now.
Yeah,
that's your main paycheck, right? And the second paycheck is for the person you're going to become. And there's 3 things about the person that you could become. You could die prematurely and leave family in, a difficult position. So you could be dead. That's one option. Not great, but you can do something about it. Buy life insurance. So that's some of the money that we need to take off you. Then you've got the person that retires, okay, and lives long into the future. So we need to take the money away for that and put that away and allocate that for the future. And then the other person is the person that either suffers a heart attack, cancer, or stroke, or becomes totally and permanently disabled. So that's critical illness cover. So we've got to take some of your money away from you and give it to the insurance company for your life insurance and for your critical illness cover and your income protection. And then we've got to save some for the future person that you're going to become.
And that pot 2 that you are investing, where does that go? What type of investments should people be considering? I don't know, you're going to share your secret sauce, but
it's not secret. It's simple, right? Okay, I've written a book, Think Simple, Win Big. It's like I am a simple.
Have a copy of that somewhere that's been signed.
Yes, you might indeed. No, but the thing is people overcomplicate it, right? I mean, crypto, it's like, no, get the fundamentals in place first, right? You just need to save it somewhere. You need to create an emergency fund to start with, right? Which is 3 months' money as a minimum. So whatever your bills are, your compulsory bills, not your Netflix and all the other, because they're luxury items, to be fair. So you have a 3-month buffer sat, tucked away. You're made redundant or whatever. You've got 3 months living. You get 3 months is your first target, then you get it to 6 months, and ideally you want it into 12, right?
So you want 12 months burn money in case the world ends and...
Yes.
Okay.
That's your first starting point. That's your first aim. If you've got debts, you need to make sure that you clear those as well, as whilst you're building.
So not clear the debt, then save, bit of both? Because some people will say you clear the debts first, then you save. What's your take on it?
Well, if you spend, it's all about the psychology of it all, right? Okay, so if you're just spending all of your spare money on paying debt off, it's depressing, right? Because you're paying back for your previous life, because that's what credit cards are, or your debt is your money that you borrowed for your previous life, and you're paying that back now. So that's depressing if that's all you're concentrating on. So, I recommend that the plan is that you allocate money for
I
holidays.
like that thinking. Yeah.
Right? You allocate money for holidays. If it's going to cost you £2,500, if you've got a young family, it's not going to be £2,500. But if you're going to have a 2.5K holiday every year, right? You save £200 a month, right? And then you've built up the money. You can pay the deposit, right? And then when the holiday comes, you can pay the balance, and you can have a little bit of the spending money. So it's like it's not all piled on the credit card, and you go away and you can't have that little bottle of wine that you want because you're thinking, shit, it's going on the Wellard when I get back, and and so you get back from holiday and you need another holiday because the credit card statement's just come in and you're depressed. So you build that up. And there's this other thing that's been going on for about 2,000 years, and it catches people out. And it happens on the 25th of December every single year, and it has every single year for as long as I can remember, all my life. Christmas Day, right? Well, if you want to allocate some money for that, when it's coming, £75 a month, right, into a Christmas fund gives you 900 quid at Christmas if you start in January. And now all of a sudden you can buy the turkey, you can buy, the beers and the wine and the kids' Christmas presents, and it's all done and dusted. You just get these things on automatic pilot. So you do those alongside paying the debt.
Your war chest. Yeah, your
Yes.
war chest is 12 months. Okay, so you got your war chest, there's some discipline around that life plan for the year, holidays, Christmas. Okay, cool. And what else?
And then you concentrate on your debt, and there's two methods of clearing your debt. There's the snowball method and the avalanche method, right? And very, very quickly, it's just whether you concentrate on the biggest debt first, which is the snowball method, right? Or whether you concentrate, is it the other way around? Anyway, whether you concentrate on the smaller debt first, because psychologically getting rid of the debts. You've got 5 debts. If you get rid of one, that's the smaller one's quicker. So then you've got 4, then you've got 3, then you've got 2, then you've got 1. Whereas some people go, right, no, get rid of the highest interest debt. Over a period, it doesn't really make a great deal of difference. It's all about what's good for your psychology.
And when all that's done,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah.
we've got to talk. Surely we're going to talk about investing now. Where would we put what's left? What's there?
Again, you start with the fundamentals. So it's like if you're employed by anybody, you join the company pension scheme, right? Because taxman,
Explain that to people that may not know about company pensions.
Right. Every firm in the UK has to have a pension scheme. It became compulsory a few years back, right? It's not enough to start, but it's a start, right? So essentially, you put some money in, your employer puts some money in, the taxman puts some money in. Right? Taxman doesn't give you much, so it makes sense to take as much as he's going to give you. So you check your company pension scheme, and if it's a slightly bigger firm, they might have higher contribution levels. So they might say, well, if you put 5% in, we'll put 5% in. If you put 7% in, we'll put 7% in. So you look at that, because that's free money, right?
But you can't touch it for...
But you can't touch it. Right.
Now that's what you're saying, isn't it? Yeah.
That's for the person you're going to become in the future, right? So, and you can't touch it. Now, it doesn't matter where it's invested because you can't touch it, right? So there's the compounding effect of it being in the market and all the rest of it over time.
So when you know, if you was to just look at an S&P 500 tracker, which is you're essentially buying a little bit of all the companies in the S&P 500, and you look at that over whatever period of time, and that to me, that's what you're talking about, absolute basics, isn't it? If you was just to track the market for the next 25 years.
Yeah. Don't, it's, the phrase is time in the market, not timing the market, right? So people think, oh, the market's down at the moment, I'll put some money in, and it's gone up, so I'll take some money out, right? Well, they've worked it out. The difference by just staying in and not thinking about it and just doing the job is much, much better, because you tend to miss out the best bits of the market and the worst bits of the market if you try to time it. So don't do that.
So they're the fundamentals.
They're the fundamentals, and I go through that in my course. And that's, I'm going to charge for it, because obviously this is all of my, 40 years experience has gone into this, but it's a fundamental course to get you on track.
So you've been doing this dance a long time, 40 years.
Yes.
What is the biggest financial mistake that you will see a business owner make with their personal wealth?
Not plan it. It's that simple. It's like you need to separate the two. If you're a relatively small business owner and you've gone from, say, corporate world where you were paid every month into your own business, right? As soon as you possibly can. Once your money starts consistently coming into your business, right? Don't spend it. Set up a salary thing or a regular draw from the business that serves your personal life. Because if you've been in business in any length of time, and you deal with businesses all the time, I deal with businesses all the time, peaks and troughs, right? It's never a consistent 5K every single month, right? Some months it'll be 10, then it'll be 1, and then it'll be,
It'll be lumpy, can't it?
It can be lumpy. No, that's virtually guaranteed. Not can be, it will be, right? So don't, you have a 10K month, don't think, hey, happy days, and spend it all. You need to get that consistency, leave as much money in your business as possible, and you have your 3 months money in your business. You just take the fundamentals from your personal life and move it into your business. But it's like, don't spend. If you get a rip roar of a month, don't spend it. And if you get close to the end of the tax year and you've got some excess, pay it straight into your pension.
I mean, that's something that surprises me, that people still don't realise what you can do. And obviously, it's all subject to change. You never know what the government's going to do next. But in 2026, can you just explain to people, if you're a director that's making a profit, what you can do to take some of that money out of your business tax free?
Well, I mean, we'll have to use an example, right? You've had a reasonably successful couple of years. You've not done a great deal about it, and you maybe got 100 grand.
Retain profits in the business.
Profits in the business. Now, obviously, if you take them out, you're going to have to pay dividend tax on it, right? Or you've had a really, really big contract.
Could be 40%, could be 60%, depending on what your
absolutely
your income is,
what your remuneration package is and how the business is going. But what you can do is the business can pay straight into your pension pot, so it's now your personal money. If your spouse, is a director, do the same for her. So you can put 60K under current legislation straight into your pension pot, and that's like a business expense. So there's no
and it will reduce your corporation tax.
Absolutely, yes,
by
whatever your rate is.
Yeah. So potentially, the net cost to the business is 45 grand. You've got 60 grand in your pension, and it's reduced your corporation tax by up to 15,000.
And you're growing the money tax-free. And, of course, if you do the full 60K and you've still got excess profits, you can pick up money from previous years that you haven't used. You can go back 3 years.
3 years.
Pile that in. So it's quite an effective thing to do. Now, there's one or two little... It used to be amazing. It was the best thing to do because, obviously, the money was in your pension. It was outside of your estate for inheritance tax purposes. But bless her, cotton socks. I'm just going to be kind. Rachel from accounts has messed that up for a few people. So we've got a bit more planning to be done over the coming years.
I want to circle back to the 2 books that you wrote, Goals Do Come True, Think Simple, Win Big. What drove you, and obviously there's a third in the offing as well.
Yeah.
What drove you to write those books?
Well, I'd made a bit of money, when I sold the business, and I thought there's some lessons here, and they say everybody's got a book in them, and I was a bit flush, and Georgia Kirk of Right Business Results, she was in my world. She said, "Doug, this is an amazing story. We need to get that out into the world." So obviously she was seeing coinage that I'd created, but then no, actually we've all got a book in us and we need to share that to the world. So the first book, Goals Do Come True, which is again the name of my podcast, that was for peers in my business. That was for financial advisors. So it's like, right. And so there was a lot of reference to life insurance and the $1 Million Round Table, which is the premier association for financial professionals. And so there was a lot of stuff about that sort of stuff in it. So it wouldn't appeal to the wider market.
But the $1 Million, sorry to jump in, the $1 Million Round Table, was that like a mastermind kind of group that you were involved with?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, technically it's the top 5% of financial advisors globally.
Okay.
It's been around since 1927. So it stood the test of time. And the $1 million bit, it's the $1 Million Round Table. The $1 million bit was the qualification to join it back in 1927 was you had to sell $1 million worth of life insurance coverage in a year.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Back then, $1 million was a lot of money. Right. So it's easy to sell $1 million worth of life coverage. So it's developed. But if you're in the MDRT, $1 Million Round Table, places you in the top 5% of financial advisors globally.
Okay.
And I'm a member. Just drop that in. So I'm capable, if you like.
So the first book, it was purely
for
IFAs.
Yeah. And then we're having a chat about it, Georgia and myself. She said, I think there's a message here for the wider. So Think Simple, Win Big, How to Build the Business of Your Dreams with a Few Simple Goals was the second book. And it's my lessons from 40 years being in business.
And the second book is for business owners?
Business owners is people that are thinking about, developing a business or thinking about going self-employed. It's like, obviously don't jump ship from corporate world into self-employment, run the two together, develop it slowly. Because
I was on the phone to a pal of mine today. We were discussing this because you've heard people say burn the ship, and you're thinking fucking don't burn the ship, man.
No.
But my mate's doing that. He's got a good job and he's got a side hustle that's got lot of promise. And he's just going to run the two, and hopefully, if the side hustle makes enough money, then he can leave the job.
That's the best way to do it. That's the best way to do it. And people go, well, I haven't got time, right? They go, I haven't got time, right? You got your main job, right? Which is, if you're any good at it, probably 8 till 6, not 9 till 5, 8 till 6, right? So you've got your main job 8 till 6. You've then got more hours and your weekend, right, to do your side hustle. And they go, well, I haven't got time for it. Well, if you haven't got time to do it in the 8 till 6, right? When you become self-employed and you've got your own business, we're now talking for a period of time, and it doesn't 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. all weekend, right? You're giving up your 8 till 6 for a virtually 24-hour job when you start your business, right? So if you can't do your business and your side hustle, all right, you probably haven't got enough time to run a business. That's the harsh reality of being self-employed, I'm afraid to say. And you make this entrepreneurial promise to your family that, you know, we're going to make more money, or we'll have better holidays, and you know, kids will be able to go to decent schools, and we'll be able to upgrade the car, and we'll be able to move house, and that's the entrepreneurial promise. And unfortunately, in many instances, because you've gone from a role where you have the leads fed to you, right, and all the marketing's done and all the admin's done, you then move into a business where you've got to do the whole thing yourself.
The marketing, the HR, the accounts payable, the
yeah, absolutely. You know, so now all of a sudden it's like, right, when you were spending 100% of your time on the thing that you're good at, you've now got 20% or 30% of it, because you've got all this other minutiae that you need to deal with.
You're no stranger to doing the odd podcast, are you? Okay.
No, I've got 1 or 2 under my belt.
What's the most surprising thing a guest has ever said to you?
Fortunately, you asked me this question beforehand, because I've got 243 episodes, right, under my belt, and it's the Goals Do Come True podcast. There's a theme, right? So I'm going to go. I had a think, and I think Holly Budge, she's an adventurer, right? So we were chatting. She was telling me about her life, and her thing was she skydived higher than Everest. So she was above Everest, and she skydived there. And where she was landing was clear. And just as she was about to leap from the plane, they said, "We can't come, the cloud's coming in." But she was already gone out the plane. And the cloud came in. So where she was landing was now covered in cloud. And she's skydiving down to land on this place. And it's like, flip me. I've got goosebumps going to think about this. You know, she doesn't know where she's going to land on Everest, or, you know, above Everest Base Camp. And then she's got to get down to that. And I thought, wow. Well, she survived, obviously, because she was on my podcast. But it's like, that was crazy.
I'm still stuck in that cloud thinking, oh man, what a fear.
Yeah, I can't see where I'm going to land as I'm skydiving.
We're coming towards the end of the interview. Couple of questions I want to fire at you.
Okay.
I think we got time. If someone is watching this podcast and they're in debt right now, or the business is struggling and they feel that there's no outlet, sometimes people will make the supreme sacrifice with stuff that you and I have both been through. What are you telling them? What's the message you want to give these people?
Take a step back, right? And probably get some help, okay? Because you can't see everything when you're in it. I'd say the wood for the trees, but that is it. There's so many things that probably could be done to help you, to ease the pressure. So, but basically look for some help, okay? The problem is, as an entrepreneur, when you're struggling, right, you do not have anybody to talk to. You cannot talk to your spouse about it because you've been protecting her or significant other. You've been protecting them from the difficulties because they don't happen overnight. They're sneaking up on you. So get some help. Talk to somebody ahead of the game, because they will be able to see things about your situation So that would be one of the things. But also, I would say get a mentor anyway, ahead of the game. Because, you know, we spend money. If you've been through university, you spent a small fortune going through university to get your education and your understanding and all the rest of it, and then it stops. It's like, well, no, as a business owner, it's tax deductible, for goodness sake. Get yourself a mentor, get yourself somebody that can, you know, give you an honest opinion on what it is that you're trying to do sometimes.
And finally,
Mm.
we've mentioned books, we've mentioned podcasts, and we will have everything in the show notes.
Perfect.
But where else can we find out about Doug Bennett and what he does?
I'll try and make it as simple as possible. So it's dougbennett.co.uk. That's my website, obviously. And from there, you can, you know, order the book and find out about me and reach out and we'll have a chat.
Doug, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate.
No
Thank
problem.
you for coming down. I've really enjoyed it.
Me too. Me too. Thanks very much.
Top man.